You're sitting outside on a summer evening with a group of friends, everyone in roughly the same spot, roughly the same amount of exposed skin, roughly the same conditions. And by the end of the night, one person has 4 bites. Another has 0. You're sitting there scratching what feels like your 15th bite of the evening, genuinely convinced that mosquitoes have singled you out personally, that there's some kind of vendetta happening. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You might be right. Not about the vendetta part. Mosquitoes don't hold grudges, but about being specifically targeted. Roughly 20% of people are, according to research, disproportionately attractive to mosquitoes, and the reasons why involve your blood chemistry, the bacteria living on your skin, the gas coming out of your lungs, and even your genetics, in ways that are honestly stranger than most people realize. Let's start with the thing mosquitoes are actually hunting for, because it's not blood specifically, not at first. Mosquitoes locate you primarily through carbon dioxide. Every time you exhale, you're releasing a plume of CO2 into the air, and female mosquitoes, the only ones that bite, by the way, since they need blood protein to develop their eggs, have specialized sensory organs that can detect that CO2 plume from up to 150 feet away. This is why larger people, and people who are simply breathing harder from exercise, from pregnancy, from just having a bigger body that produces more carbon dioxide as a byproduct of metabolism, tend to get bitten more often. You're not imagining that pregnant women and larger individuals seem to be mosquito magnets. Their exhaled CO2 output is measurably higher, and mosquitoes are following that trail like a scent, because functionally, that's exactly what it is. But CO2 only gets a mosquito in your general vicinity. Once they're close, a completely different set of signals takes over. And this is where things get specific to you as an individual. Body heat and body odor become the dominant cues, and body odor turns out to be an almost absurdly complex chemical signature made up of hundreds of different compounds, produced partly by your own skin cells and partly by the specific mix of bacteria colonizing your skin at any given moment. Here's the part that sounds almost unbelievable. Research has found that people with a greater diversity of skin bacteria tend to be less attractive to mosquitoes, while people whose skin is dominated by a smaller number of specific bacterial species tend to be significantly more attractive. Your skin microbiome, an invisible ecosystem you never think about, is functionally broadcasting a chemical advertisement that mosquitoes can read from several feet away, and some people's advertisements are apparently far more appealing than others. Blood type appears to play a role too. And this is one of the more debated but genuinely researched angles. Some studies have found that people with type O blood get bitten measurably more often than people with type A, with type B falling somewhere in between. The proposed explanation involves certain people secreting chemical signals related to their blood type through their skin, essentially broadcasting blood type information externally, something roughly 80% of people do genetically, and mosquitoes appear able to detect and respond to those chemical signals even before landing. Then there's genetics more broadly, and twin studies have actually been used to investigate this. Research comparing identical twins, who share essentially all their genes, to fraternal twins, who share about half, found that identical twins showed far more similar attractiveness to mosquitoes than fraternal twins did. This strongly suggests that a meaningful portion of why mosquitoes prefer certain people isn't random or purely behavioral. It's baked into your genetic code in ways researchers are still working to fully map, likely tied to how your genes influence your specific mix of skin bacteria, your metabolic rate, and the exact chemical cocktail your body produces. Body temperature and sweat matter significantly as well. Mosquitoes are drawn to heat, using it as one of their final targeting cues once they're close enough to land, and people who run naturally warmer, whether due to metabolism, exercise, or simply individual variation, tend to be more attractive targets. Sweat itself adds another layer. Since sweat contains lactic acid, and lactic acid appears to be particularly attractive to certain mosquito species. This is part of why intense physical activity outdoors tends to increase your bite count beyond what the increased CO2 output alone would explain. You're simultaneously heating up and producing lactic acid, stacking multiple attractive signals at once. Alcohol consumption has also shown up repeatedly in research as a factor, and the mechanism isn't fully understood, but multiple studies have found that people who've been drinking beer specifically become more attractive to mosquitoes shortly afterward. Some researchers suspect this relates to a combination of increased body temperature from alcohol's effect on blood vessels, along with subtle changes in the compounds released through skin and breath, though the full picture is still being researched. Clothing color plays a surprisingly significant role too, something most people never consider. Mosquitoes use visual cues at closer range, and research has shown they're disproportionately drawn to darker colors, black, navy, red, tones that stand out more sharply against typical outdoor backgrounds, compared to lighter colors like white, khaki, or pastel tones, which appear to blend into the background and attract noticeably less attention. So if you put all of this together, here's what an exceptionally mosquito-attractive person actually looks like from a mosquito's biological perspective. They're producing more carbon dioxide, whether from body size, exertion, or just individual variation. Their skin hosts a specific, less diverse bacterial community that happens to produce an especially appealing chemical signature. They might be secreting blood-type signals that mosquitoes find easier to detect. They're running slightly warmer, possibly sweating more, possibly producing more lactic acid. Their genetics may be predisposing them to several of these traits simultaneously, in ways passed down and studied through twin research. And if they happen to be wearing dark clothing while enjoying a cold beer outside on a warm evening, they've essentially assembled a near-perfect mosquito attraction profile without realizing it, while their friend in a light-colored shirt, sipping water, sitting perfectly still nearby, remains almost entirely off the radar. This actually reframes something that feels deeply personal and unfair into something explainable, even predictable. It's not that mosquitoes have chosen you out of spite or bad luck. It's that your body is broadcasting a specific, measurable combination of signals, chemical, thermal, and visual, that happens to align closely with exactly what a hunting female mosquito is biologically wired to detect and pursue. You're not cursed. You're just, chemically speaking, giving off an unusually strong signal in a language mosquitoes have spent millions of years learning to read with remarkable precision. So the next time you're the only one covered in bites while everyone else at the barbecue walks away completely unscathed, you can skip the conspiracy theory. Somewhere in the combination of your breath, your skin bacteria, your blood type, your body heat, and possibly even your shirt color, you've unknowingly built the exact chemical profile mosquitoes have evolved specifically to find. It's not personal. It's just, unfortunately, extremely specific.